Thank you, Eszter, for the introduction, and also thank you for the possibility to present here today. I will try to bring another perspective in our discussion on game studies, as I'm doing my research on game in the context of urban planning and urban development. Aspen Arset defined yesterday 3 groups of people regarding games: the good, the bad, and the ludic. I'm not sure if you remember. I'm definitely in the first group. As I studied education and art history, I'm very much interested in the impact of games in the learning process and how to relate it in urban planning processes. So it's quite an integrative topic, and I would like to give you an overview about the research I'm doing right now. As probably most of you are doing research on games or designing games or developing games, I won't talk that much about the games and gaming phenomena, but rather I would explain the context I'm implementing the games. So the question raised, why implement games in urban planning? Games can provide a lot of benefits for urban planning processes, as they can allow simple visualization of very complex data. They can simulate complex mechanisms through the regulations. They can provide space for experiments and exploring ideas, trial and fail, without having very big consequences on the real urban space. And they can motivate different target groups as well. So in the last year, the implementation of games is increasing, especially in the field of public participation in planning processes. I brought you some examples just in order to show you some games from this context. Most of them are German, and Participatory Chinatown is from Boston, US. They whether give possibility to people to articulate their ideas, like Stadt spielt Stadt, where people from Görlitz could just write their comments regarding urban reconstructions and write their ideas how they imagine their city. Or they can bring different stakeholders together, like the game Stadtspieler, where these different stakeholders are sitting at the same table and playing a board game, and this allows them free communication between each other. Or they can motivate different target groups, like Participatory Chinatown, which focuses or addresses people in Chinatown with a migration background who are maybe not speaking English very well, in order to integrate them as well into the planning process. Or B3 is a game which allows, which is like a platform or a plan it yourself platform, and people can, through this online game, they can just plan their own market space. On the other hand, there are several games, even commercial games, in the context of urban development, and they are somehow teaching how urban development functions. People can try out to be the major and to develop their own cities, or have a look how urban greenfields work, or real estate systems work. And there are also a lot of pervasive games with the aim to explore the urban space and the city. So I thought, why not learning about participation? Why not relate those learning perspective with participation, as there is a growing demand for the integration also for children and youth in urban planning processes, and they have different needs, skills, and interests, which need to be taken into account in the design of the planning process, because usually in traditional participatory methods, they wouldn't like to or wouldn't be able to participate. So there is an emerging demand for age-appropriate methods which can improve the motivation, enhance the learning, and develop social skills needed for active participation. And then I thought, why not learning about participation through games? As we heard yesterday, there are even not enough evidences, but still there are a lot of researches that can explain that games can enable learning through experimentation and increase motivation, reinforce the learning process, and also promote sustainable learning. And through this visualization and simulation of very complex data, also young people would be able to understand those mechanisms of participatory planning. And that's why I thought that this should be fit as a method for children and youth in order to foster their participation. So my research focus is games that foster learning about urban planning and the co-creation of the urban space. But then I thought, okay, so what do children need to know in order to be able to participate? What is needed for a successful participation? On the one hand, there is a need for information about local context, and on the other hand, there is a need for social competencies in order to be able to work in this process together with all the other stakeholders or all the other users of urban space. And in my research, I argue that cooperative gameplay can provide a suitable instrument for children and youth to gain understanding about the creation of or co-creation of urban space, as well as enhance social competencies needed for active participation. But why cooperative games? Cooperative games are games which integrate the concepts of cooperative learning, which is recognized already as an effective learning strategy that promotes complex thinking and pro-social behavior. So my research aims to link both cooperative game concepts and the context of urban planning. In the last years, I developed two cooperative learning games, Pop-Up Pest in Budapest, Hungary, and Participate in Pécs on the south of Hungary. And as we have limited time, I will describe only the second one, the newest one. Both are based on cooperative gameplay, and they address young people and enhance their learning about urban participation. We developed Participate with a group of people, with a group of 6 pupils between 13 and 16 years, and 6 experts like urban planners, architects, sociologists, teachers, and engineers. We had a monthly meeting of 2 days, and in between those meetings, we've been communicating via social media and file sharing platforms, and we documented everything via videotapes, photos, notes, reports, drawings, etc. And after a process of 1 year, cooperative development, game development, the game was ready and produced. And the aim of Participate is to make the city of Pécs more attractive for the inhabitants by means of small interventions. As you can see, the playing table is depicting the city of Pécs. The most important sites and nodes and streets are marked, and the players can move on this in this game space, which is related to the real space. The format is like an enlarged board game. It has over 30 square meter playing area, so that people can also move on that playing fields themselves. The concept of learning, as I mentioned, there is a need for information about the local context, and this knowledge acquisition happens on 3 different levels. In the game, the first level is represented by the overall unifying theme of the game, the idea of active participation and proactive citizenship. The second level is related to the small interventions, and player can become acquainted with different options for actions and interventions in urban space. The third level of the learning content is imparted through the chance cards, which provide information about what is happening in the urban space, like giving examples where people intervened in urban space in page, or different power mechanisms that have an impact on that. Also, it is also very important that it is a cooperative game, so it fosters the acquisition of social skills or the development of social skills as players work together in order to achieve a goal. So they can achieve this common goal only if they work together and cooperate, which requires coordinated efforts of all the players. And the participants are involved in a successful outcome, all of them. And the basic elements of the gameplay are related to the basic elements of cooperative learning, which was defined by Johnson and Johnson. One of the most important elements is positive interdependence, as player only can have successful interventions in the games if they work together. It fosters also promotive interaction because they need to find their partners, and the interactions with other players are have this positive attitude. It's also both related to individual and group accountability, and it fosters social skills like effective communication, interpersonal and group skills like leadership, decision making, and so on. So basically how it looks like in the game, very shortly, the players can have an idea how to intervene in urban space, and then they have to find a group, the people who cooperate in this small intervention. So they need to go to this development area together and put their building blocks there. And if all of them succeeds and the cooperation was successful, then they got a reward for that. The reward is as higher as more people cooperated in this intervention. Further research. In the next month, I'm planning to implement an experimental research design for study the causal relations between the cooperative game participation and the learning outcome of the players. So my question is if participants develop an understanding of the co-creation of urban space through playing cooperative games. And the sample will be taken of pupils in the 9th and 12th grades from a secondary school in Pécs, Hungary. And I hope that next year I will be able to present you the results. Thank you.